This is a broadcast from the Pop Cult Pod.
Broadcasting from an undisclosed location in Ireland, known as the Pop Cult Compound, where the craze for film, television, video games, and much, much more. A proud part of the Phoenix Wrestling Network comes the Pop Cult Pod, the only podcast with an actual cult following, hosted by your cult leader, Tompott.
You're listening to the smooth tones of the Pop Cult Pod. Like a cup of coffee in the morning, we're there for you when you need it. I'm your host, Tom. I can't do that for a whole show. Nor would I want to. It would make the show less listenable than normal, which is really saying something. I am your host of the Pop Cult Pod, Tompott, the posh spice to the rest of the Spice Girls of the Phoenix Wrestling Network. I don't know what that means. Don't dig into it too much, because I certainly didn't. This is a little bit late. This is a 2020 preview. I'm well aware now that 1/12 of the year has passed us by January. Which means, again, you can go back to drinking and breaking your New Year's resolutions. Congratulations on trying to keep doing a month, same as the rest of us. Just getting by. I've started a new job in January. Been really, really busy. Podcast is still going to keep going, but, despite evidence to the contrary, this takes a bit of work. You'd think it would be more reflected by quality. You think, putting a bit of work might make this a bit better. Apparently not. So this is a 2020 preview. We're going to rush through a bit of news. Less more so than usual, and then we're just going to go into 2020 previews. As far as trailers I missed and stuff, we're going to touch upon those when I talk about the movies coming out this year. And in general, January is a kind of a dead point. There's not a lot of news normally. As far as releases, we've talked about before, that's dumping ground for a lot of crap movies. And in Ireland as well, it's just when they release movies from award season that were released in other territories at the end of last year. So really, there's not much to discuss. So we'll just get straight into the news. We had a lot of Marvel news, a lot of friction, a lot of Disney productions, Marvel stuff going on. So, number one, I guess we should talk about Scott Derrickson has been, I was going to say he's been fired, but he hasn't been fired. They departed due to creative differences, which is a key lingo for when you don't do what they say. Right. I don't know how to feel about this. Because, we had issues in the past where a lot of Marvel directors left, and it felt like we were kind of leaving that behind. Now, on the other hand, I think if this was most cases, when James Gunn was fired, people were like, this is awful. He's leaving to his creative vision. And we have a lot of that lately, with Zack Snyder, and people are trying to start with J.J. Abrams now with that shite Star Wars movie. But I think I'd feel stronger about this if the first Doctor Strange showed more kind of creative vision. Doctor Strange was fine. It was a totally competent movie. I don't think I've seen any of Scott Derrickson's other movies. But yeah, it's kind of fine. It's hard to fight for something where you're like, I'm sure he can make a good movie. Now, on the other hand, what it sounds like, or what a lot of people are pointing to, is that he wanted to make a horror movie. In fact, he said as much as Comic-Con. Of course, he got big woos because it's Comic-Con and they woo everything. Then it was like they talked to Kevin Feige a couple of times. One interview, Kevin Feige was like, "Yeah, it's not the first MCU horror film, but there'll be horror elements." And then 2 months go by, and it's like, "Hey, so horror Doctor Strange, right?" And he's like, "No, not really." So yeah, Scott Derrickson might have wanted to make a scarier film, and maybe Marvel said no. We don't entirely know. I don't know how to feel about this because I should. Normally I'm on the side of directors and let them make the film they want. But also, I wasn't a big enough fan of the Doctor Strange movie that I was kind of protective enough or cared enough about his vision. There has been no talk of who's coming on board as a replacement. I don't know what that means. They're going to have to get to work soon because I think it has to start filming this year. I think the following year. So we don't really know what happens next. We're just going to wait and see what happens. Are they going to get a new director? Probably. Is it going to be an entirely different script? Maybe. We haven't had a big firing of directors at Marvel in quite a while, or at least not no one that came back. James Gunn obviously was fired and came back, but yeah, I hope we're not going into another phase of Marvel creative kind of throwing their weight around, kind of getting rid of people, because that was kind of what began to be a pattern, a couple of years ago, and I hope it's not going to be a pattern now. They're kind of in this phase of rebuilding to a certain degree. Now, on the other hand, they had a sort of a sneaky firing, I guess, that a lot of people kind of brush over. And that is that they announced they have hired a writer for Captain Marvel 2. And the report kind of made it really strongly suggested, like, yeah, they're looking for a new director, and the people who directed the first Captain Marvel, Bowden and Fleck, I think their name were, are not coming back. And people were just kind of like, oh, they're making a new Captain Marvel. But that kind of got brushed over completely. It's, I don't know how to feel with this. Marvel kind of do this every now and then, where if the first film isn't entirely successful, they're like, let's get someone new in for a sequel. And sometimes it works. In fact, I think most times it has worked. But at the same time, again, it's hard to talk about this one, because with James Gunn, it was like, oh, he made some great movies, let him do it. Captain Marvel was fine. It did kind of feel like anyone could have made that movie. You know, I didn't feel like there was a strong creative voice there. They're apparently looking for a female director for the next one. We'll have to see. I just hope that this isn't becoming a pattern for Marvel, for Disney. There was, on the other hand, then another issue, and when I talked in my last episode, we gave out awards and condemnations and commendations. There we go. I'm re-recording this. I couldn't remember the word that was the opposite of condemn, or it sounded kind of like it. I don't know, something good, something bad. I gave a thumbs down to Marvel for their handling of TV stuff, and that it's kind of been all over the place. And of course, some of that is as Marvel TV comes under the Marvel Studios banner, with all these Disney Plus series in the works. They cancelled 2 animated Hulu shows. I know you said shoes. Hulu shows. They cancelled Hit Monkey. No, sorry. They cancelled Howard the Duck and Tigger and Dazzler. Now, Tigger and Dazzler we'd heard about, that they basically had to rewrite the whole thing. They sent writers home. Howard the Duck we'd heard nothing about. Kevin Smith was working on it. Yeah, those are gone. So the only 2 shows they now have, there was originally, it was like those 2 shows, MODOK and Hit Monkey, and then they would all join together in The Offender. So it was basically like the Netflix kind of plan. And then it would be that they all joined together, like they had the Defenders on Netflix. It was basically an animated version of that. But it looks like since Ike Perlmutter is gone, since it's now coming under Marvel Studios banner, everything has basically been thrown out. I'll be honest, Howard the Duck was the only one I was really excited for, and now that's not happening. MODOK and Hit Monkey, I guess, might just be too far along to be cancelled, which kind of leaves us in a really awkward position. Like, these shows will probably just drop and barely be promoted and never come back, which, like, whatever way you want to put it. And it is great that there's going to be more kind of continuity between these shows in this universe, but it's really sloppy looking. It's kind of a mess right now, Marvel TV. And then even though, like, there was talks as well that Kevin Feige is going to make a show at ABC for Marvel, and traditionally the stuff on ABC hasn't been really canon. We had Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., of course, which was sort of like, they have adventures, but don't expect to be acknowledged. So we're left in this weird, awkward space where we have 2 Marvel shows coming out, and possibly even a third. There's Hellfire also, which is live action on Hulu, which is probably just going to come out with a little fanfare and then be ignored. It's just, I don't know. They need to get their shit together a little bit. And we'll go from that to another Disney property that's having trouble, and that is the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. And I don't entirely know what this story is, because there's reports and there's rumors, and the actual news story came out weeks ago, and people denied it, and then it came out that it was true, basically. So, okay, so the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, which wasn't even announced that long ago, really. It's meant to be going to Disney Plus. So, what there was rumors of a couple of weeks ago was that there was production issues, there was going to be delayed majorly, and they came out like, no, it's not going to be delayed. And then, a couple of weeks later, delayed. People have been sent home. I think the production offices have been shut down. What that generally means is they're going to start again. I've heard the scripts are being reworked. And this is really bad creative oversight. Like, everyone kind of gives out to, these studios like taking over creative control. This is an instance where they should have had more creative input, because the rumored reason that they're shutting down the Obi-Wan Kenobi series is they realized that it was too similar to The Mandalorian, in that The Mandalorian is looking after Baby Yoda. Obi-Wan Kenobi would have been overlooking Luke. How did you not realize that until now? It's embarrassing, man. Lucasfilm need to get their shit together. So that's apparently the reason it's been shut down. Now, there's a lot of other rumors. Basically, what we know is that scripts are going to be rewritten from the start, from the sound of it. Aside from that, we've heard that the episode count might be cut. I think it was going to be 8 episodes. Could now be 6 or 4. Maybe it was originally 6. Now it could be 4. I'm not entirely sure. And there's another crazy rumor going around. And again, take these with a pinch of salt. It's easy to kind of pile on the dog pile. You see that a lot when movies are in trouble or TV shows are in trouble. That Lucasfilm aren't still entirely sure that they don't want to make this a movie. Which it's like, you should have probably figured that out before you started announcing things. And if it's only going to be 4 episodes, you basically have a movie anyway. So it's like, it's a mess. And yeah, as successful as Marvel have been, they're having some really stupid issues that should really be beneath them. They should have figured this stuff out by now. And as for like Lucasfilm, it's a dumpster fire there right now. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Like they've kind of killed off the movie series a little bit. Like the movie Rise of Skywalker was a mess. It's not doing as well as the previous entries. It's being ridiculed. I think it's going to kill off the episodic movies for quite a while. As for the other Star Wars movies, who knows? There was rumors Taika Waititi was approached to direct one, which I think he'd be a good choice. Kevin Feige is apparently producing one, which again, we don't know much about that. There's not going to be a Star Wars movie for quite a while. And Rian Johnson just started working on a Knives Out sequel. So his trilogy, if that was ever going to happen, is now very unlikely to happen for at least another while. So, yeah, Star Wars needs to get its act together, Because at the moment we have one Disney Plus series, The Mandalorian, which doesn't come back for another year. And then we have that, we have that Rogue One series, which I don't think anyone's going to care about that, right? Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Anyway, moving on from Disney and from Marvel and Star Wars and all that jazz, we have a few other movies, bit of news stories I want to talk about very, very briefly. One is that The Thing is getting another adaptation from Universal and Blumhouse. First of all, I think some people are getting angry about this. They're like, why are you making The Thing? Which is like, The Thing was a remake of a movie already. Of course, they made a prequel in 2011, which, I mean, is most notable because they went to try to do it like an 80s version of it. Like it was like practical effects, like the John Carpenter thing that apparently looks awesome. And then they were like, oh no, those look like the 80s. Imagine making a prequel to an 80s movie and being like, oh, this looks too 80s. So they redid the whole thing with CGI and it was a mess and it wasn't very well received. Didn't necessarily do very well. Now they're doing it again. Now, here's what I find interesting about this, and here's what I think this is okay. First of all, I don't think you should be that attached. They remake horror movies all the time, even though The Thing is one of my favorite films. Like it was a remake already. It's a remake of a book of a movie called The Thing from Another World, and it's based on a book from like the 30s. So they're always going to be making this. I think it works well. First of all, if you have Blumhouse involved, they have a decent track record with properties like this. More recently, Halloween, of course. And what is interesting is that what is happening here, and I'm trying to piece together the information I remember. So the original thing was based on a book by John Campbell called Who Goes There? Now, this apparently was something of a novella. It was quite short. And in 2018, John Campbell's kind of had passed on and they sent a lot of stuff to a college. And this college had found a full-length version of what was basically the manuscript for what became Who Goes There, titled Frozen Hell. It's a much longer, much more detailed, apparently. So they're going to adapt that, apparently. Now, again, this is coming from the person, I believe, who found it. But they're going to release it as a novel as well. There was a Kickstarter to get it released as a novel, but Pseudo apparently looking to make this. So it's like, this is going to be a little bit different. Sort of feels like it's a remake, but not entirely. I'm kind of behind this. If they do this right, which hopefully they will, it could very well be something special. So there we go. They're kind of remaking The Thing, but not really. In a really weird way that has more to do with books. than film, but we should see how that pans out. Maybe it'll never happen. You know, producers say movies are going to happen all the time, and they never happen. Such as in the case of Lethal Weapon 5. Yeah, that's apparently something that has been rumored. The producer, Dan Lin, who was, I believe, involved in the Lethal Weapon franchise before, he said, "We're trying to make the last Lethal Weapon movie. And Dick Donner's coming back too." Dick Donner has got to be well into his 90s by now. He says the original cast is coming back, and it's just amazing. The story itself is very personal to me. Or sorry, to him. Mel and Danny are ready to go, so it's about the script. Like, I don't know. Like, the last we heard about it was that it was going to be called Lethal Finale, apparently. Richard Donner once said, "I'm ready to do 5. It's called Lethal Finale. It's very dark. And we're all set to go, and now Warner Bros. Is doing their old-fashioned tricks." Not Warner Bros. It's this guy who runs this shit. What is this quote? I haven't seen this quote before reading it right now. Let me try to figure this out. Okay. Richard Donner said, "And I'm ready to do 5. It's called Lethal Finale. It's very dark, and we are all set to go. And now Warner Brothers is doing their old-fashioned tricks. Not Warner Brothers. There's this guy who runs the studio who's great. But they have these people in the legal department who do the negotiating in the most counterproductive way. They should be sent to a studio and work with the producers and directors and actors and learn what makes a film and then negotiate it. But it's just embarrassing." Oh, if there was ever a doubt that Richard Donner was old, it's this statement. It's just old man shouting at cloud for someone not making his movie. It just goes on. That was only half the quote. Like, oh. Look, Lethal Weapon 5 might be happening. Probably not. But there you go. And lastly, Paramount are working on more Transformers films. We don't know much else. I think Beast Wars was rumored to be one of them, but they're apparently hired screenwriters for 2 new Transformers films. Whether or not they're in the Bumblebee universe, which is sort of a soft reboot. Whether or not they're in the main franchise, you know, we don't entirely know. That's pretty much all the details. Apparently Beast Wars is one of them. We shall see. Well, that's our very abridged run through the news. We're going to go just straight into it. 2020, the future. I guess it's not the future now. I guess it's the present now. But, you know, a lot of great films came out last year. I'm not entirely sure that 2020 is a great year for movies, having gone through the list. But I don't know. We'll have to see. Right. If we're going to start, some of these categories are back from last year. Some of them are a bit tweaked. But basically the way it works and the way it worked last year is that I've come up with awards for movies, and they get nominated under certain categories. Generally speaking, they can only be nominated once. So in other words, there's some movies that would be eligible for multiple categories, but they only get nominated once. That way we cover most of the films, and the ones I'm most excited for are stick most to a certain category, win the award, and then I'll give my top 10 of the year. So we're going to begin with a category called Book 'em Boys, which is, of course, films adapted. English work hard for me. Book 'em Boys. So this is for films adapted from books. Again, a lot of ones that could be adapted from books that we might come to later, but these are the ones that are just going to fit in this category for now. Starting off with Emma. This is an adaptation of a Jane Austen novel. Strangely enough, I went to the cinema yesterday, and 2 of these movies, actually, I saw the trailers for, and I hadn't seen them before. This stars Anya Taylor-Joy. Bill Nighy's in it. Judy Walters, I believe her name is also in it. This is it's a comedy from Jane Austen, and I kind of thought it might be like, remember when they did they did an adaptation a couple of years ago of a Jane Austen novel, and they made it a bit more modern. But this seems to just be a straight adaptation. And the reaction I saw in the cinema yesterday for the trailer was kind of confusion, because it's a comedy from Jane Austen, but it's written so long ago that the comedy doesn't necessarily translate, so it seems very dry. It was, like, I like Anya Taylor-Joy. In fact, there's some people in the cast I recognize that I enjoy, but I think this is really going to depend on your liking of, you know, Jane Austen novels, of course, you know, that sort of style. Didn't seem particularly funny. It's kind of like, you know, a kind of a romantic comedy, basically, with that kind of old pomp Britishness to it. So yeah, that'll determine how much you're going to like it. I don't think it's for me. It didn't seem like it was for any of the audience I saw. You saw this trailer yesterday with kind of a confused, like, Like, you know, when you watch a trailer and you can tell where they want you to laugh and you don't laugh. There's a lot of that. And I remember it also had just a really annoying like soundtrack where it was like pop, 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 which was just awful. Anyway. So yeah, not for me. What is probably notable. I think that's one of those movies that no one really sees until they study the book in college, and then they're like, oh, they made it into a movie. It's one of those ones. And the second one, which strange enough they're grouped together, but it's also the two trailers I saw. I would say if it was for research, it was just totally random though. The Secret Garden. This is a kind of a book by Frances Hodgson Burnett, acclaimed kids book that's been around for a long, long time. I know very little about this book though, and in my head I'm like, oh, what is the secret of the garden? It's what's going on in the garden. Is there a bit of mystery? I walked into the movie yesterday. I saw what do I see? A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. I walked in. I came in a few minutes after the time it started, so they were still showing trailers. I came in, I saw most of this trailer, and was able to figure it out straight away what it was, because apparently the Secret Garden is very literal. It's a secret garden. Yeah, that's kind of it. I don't get it. It was like there's this little kid, Colin Firth is in the movie. Actually, maybe Julia Walters is in this movie. I don't think it matters. Who cares? But yeah, it's like there's a kid that's sick and he doesn't get to live life or whatever, and she's in this stuffy old house. And there's a secret garden, and yeah, it just seems like a really nice garden. I was like, is there some magical things about this garden? I mean, I did at one point flowers are growing, but like that's what gardens do anyway, you know. So I don't get it. This just seems like one of those like wholesome books you read as a kid, because you couldn't really read anything else, and then it's like, oh yeah, it seems like a book everyone probably had forced on them, and that's why they know it. I don't get the appeal of this. Maybe I'll see the movie and quite enjoy it, but Secret Garden did nothing for me anyway. Then we have a film that's actually come out now, so I guess I don't know if it would be eligible. It was The Personal History of David Copperfield, which is, of course, based on the Dickens book David Copperfield. It has nothing to do with The Magician, just to be clear. I've heard people making that mistake. And it's directed by Armando Iannucci, who, of course, worked on Veep, The Death of Stalin, etc. I've actually seen this. It's less funny than his other work. It's not necessarily funny, but I thought it had a great sense of direction, the art direction in particular, and the style to it was lovely. And very well acted, yeah. There's a lot of actually massive cast, very impressive cast. I guess I'll take this out of the eligibility because it's out, which is fair enough. But yeah, it's quite a good movie if you want to check it out. The Personal History of David Copperfield is one of the other book adaptations we're getting this year. Death on the Nile. This is sorry, I tied my tongue on a knot there. This is an adaptation of the Agatha Christie book. Of course, it's a sequel to Murder on the Orient Express, which we got a few years ago. Again, directed by Kenneth Branagh, I believe, who is back as Poirot, is it? I think that... Wait, yeah, I think so. I don't know. Who cares? Death on the Nile, yeah. I quite liked Murder on the Orient Express. I thought it was decent, if a bit forgettable. But it was quite a big success. I think this is one of those movies that was made under the Fox banner before Disney overtook them. We'll see how it does, quite honestly, but it looks it'll be fine, realistically. You know, it's not going to be anything special. If you like the Agatha Christie books, you know what you're in for with this, really. So I think, again, as someone who was mildly impressed by the Murder on the Orient Express a few years ago, it doesn't mean much to me. Again, it's one of those movies that, as I did with the last Murder on the Orient Express, I'll probably just watch it at home at some point a couple months after its release. Then we have a Roald Dahl adaptation, actually, coming from Robert Zemeckis, which is an adaptation of The Witches. We don't know a lot about this at the moment. It's written by Robert Zemeckis, based, of course, on the Roald Dahl book, which had already been adapted a couple of years ago. Has Anne Hathaway in it, Octavia Spencer, Stanley Tucci, Chris Rock. Yeah, the premise here I have in front of me: a little boy gone for the witches while staying with his grandmother at a hotel. He gets transformed into a mouse by the Grand High Witch. It's live action, apparently, as far as I can tell. The Jim Henson Company are also involved. Whether or not that will have a factor in, hopefully it will. And yeah, it comes out in October. You know, a lot of talented people involved here. Robert Zemeckis is a tough one though, because he does just make a lot of those kind of CGI monstrosity movies, you know, where it's like, oh look, it looks like a real person, but it costs way more money, and it kind of looks creepy. It looks like a real person, but don't look into their eyes or you'll lose your soul. Those movies, you know, like what Mars Needs Moms, you made Christmas Carol, Polar Express, those kind of ones where you're like, I feel uneasy. The other one, the last one I want to talk about is Those Who Wish Me Dead. This is directed by Taylor Sheridan, who gave us Sicario as a writer. He also gave us, what was that movie called? Hell or High Water a couple of years back. So yeah, he's a really one to watch as far as writing, and this one he's actually directing as well. I don't believe it's his directorial debut. I think he directed what was the one a few years ago? Wind River was the last one he did. So yeah, he's a very consistent director, a very consistent talent. This is based on a book. The premise being a female-driven neo-western set against a wildfire in Montana wilderness. A young murder witness finds himself pursued by twin assassins in the Montana wilderness, with a survival expert tasked with protecting him and a forest fire threatening to consume them all. Has an amazing cast. Angelina Jolie is our lead, Nicholas Hoult, Tyler Perry, John Bernthal, and Aidan Gillen. So diverse cast, certainly. This is here mostly based on the strength of Taylor Sheridan's other work. This is adapting a book by Michael Corita, whose name I butchered, presumably. Yeah, so those are our nominees. We have 6 nominees. Again, I'd take David Copperfield out and make it 5, which leaves us with, you know, as I said, Emma and Secret Garden I've seen something of. Not impressed. Death on the Nile, I will watch eventually, I'm sure. The Witches could go either way at the moment. Those Who Wish Me Dead, again, I think Taylor Sheridan is a great talent, so I'm going to give it Those Who Wish Me Dead. Best book adaptation of a film coming this year. But what if you want something that's a bit more lowbrow? Maybe you don't want to be intellectually challenged. Maybe you just want to watch something for kids. Because a lot of kids' movies are shit. And there seems to be a lot of them this year. You know, when you like look at those kid films and sometimes you're like, wow, that could be really good. I might actually want to see that. I don't know if this is going to be that year. So we have the award. This award is for the children. Thank you to Old Dirty Bastard for saying Wu-Tang is for the children. That was the inspiration for the name of this award. This award is for the children. So here are our nominees. We have a lot of them. I'm not going to go into too much detail because, oh God, we have a lot of them. Okay, so Clifford the Big Red Dog is getting a movie. Yeah. What more do you want there? It's about Clifford, his big red dog. Yeah. Tom and Jerry. This is one we talked about before. I think it's at the end of the year. I think it's a blend of live action and cartoons, which could be interesting. I think they like Tom and Jerry are in a hotel. I think Chloe Moretz is in it, maybe. But yeah, you don't care, do you? Onward. This is the first of 2 Pixar films coming out this year. This is the one where it's like a fantasy world where the world has sort of moved on. It's like 2 brothers played by Chris Pratt and Tom Holland trying to go to find their dad. This didn't really have my interest until a trailer that came up recently. Because it kind of looked like one of those, like, you know, those DreamWorks movies where it's just like such a thin premise and then they just don't do anything with it. It kind of felt like one of those for a while where it was just like, what if the fantasy, but now, you know? Oh, what if we had like dragons, but they were our pets? And then I saw the more recent trailer for it, which was, you know, they're going on a road trip to kind of find their dad, find a kind of a magical wand or something, magical stone to bring back their dad. And they bring back their dad, but they break it, and he's just legs. So their dad is legs, and that's kind of interesting. I'm sure there'll be emotions involved with their dad coming back or leaving go and that kind of thing. So that makes it kind of interesting. So that's kind of the main reason that would have any interest for me. Soul is the other Pixar film coming out this year. They had a very short trailer out for this recently. I think Tina Fey does the voice, and there's I think Jamie Foxx maybe is the other voice. Yeah, it's a musician who seemingly gets in some sort of accent and it's kind of separated from a soul. I mentioned at the time this looks like a cross between Inside Out and Coco. Could be interesting. We don't have a lot to go on yet, but yeah, we'll see how that one works out. Then we have Trolls World Tour. I had the unfortune of seeing this trailer. It's the most obnoxious, annoying trailer I've ever seen. It's just bright lights and EDM and shouting. It's fuck that movie. Scoob. This is the sort of prequel to Scooby-Doo. That's kind of weird. We had a trailer for it already. It's like a prequel to Scooby-Doo, and some of the character designs are fine. It's also a weird Hanna-Barbera massive crossover movie. So yeah, there's a lot going on in this movie. It also seems slightly darker. I think there was a joke in the trailer about Daphne's like dad being like an alcoholic or something, where you're like, this is kind of weird. Just go back to hunting monsters. Yeah, that could go either way. I don't know. There's some cute moments in the trailer, but I'm not entirely sold. SpongeBob. SpongeBob the movie, Sponge on the Run. This is the third SpongeBob movie. It's basically, again, the same kind of animation style of not the series, not the first movie, but of the second movie, which was SpongeBob Sponge Out of Water. So it's kind of a CGI kind of blend. Yeah, the trailer for this looked fine. I kind of missed the classic animation personally. Keanu Reeves is in it as some sort of sage, which got a good joke. I haven't seen the last SpongeBob movie. I saw the first one though, and I thought it was quite charming, and I do like SpongeBob from what I've seen of it, which isn't much to be honest. But yeah, that could be fun. We have Minions: The Rise of Gru, a sequel to Minions, and I guess a prequel to Despicable Me because they're meeting Gru, Steve Carell's villainous character. Yeah, the thing about Minions and Despicable Me and all those, right? The movies are pretty good. They're fairly funny, actually. They're well made. But aren't you just fucking sick of Minions? Ugh, every meme from people who don't understand the internet and think it's hilarious. Every joke about Minions just they're so annoying now. So yeah, get ready for a lot more Minions memes from your aunts on Facebook. Hey. We have two other films, The Croods 2. I mean, Croods 1 came out ages ago, didn't it? That might have been a long time ago. This is the thing with Cavemen, Nicolas Cage. I guess the second one is coming out this year. Yeah, maybe. Who knows? Who cares? And the last one is Raya and the Last Dragon, or Raya and the Last Dragon, probably more correctly. This is a Disney animation film. They showed a bit of it off at D23. The reactions were really, really positive. We don't have a lot to go on, but the dragon apparently is quite nice. I think Aquafina is in it. Sounds good, but again, we don't have a lot to go on. And that will go for... Let's be kind of clear here with a lot of these awards. It's hard to judge some movies because some movies are earlier in the year, so we've seen something from them. Others, are not out until later on in the year, so we haven't seen anything from them. So we're kind of judging on anticipation. Sometimes that bites me in the ass when I say I'm looking forward to a film, and then it's a total dumpster fire. But yeah, anyway, so this award is for the children. I'm going to give it to... it's probably the film we've seen the most of. It's also the one I think looks pretty promising. It's hard to rule out this studio. It's hard to bet against Pixar. So I'm going to give it to Onward. If I hadn't seen the more recent trailer, I definitely would not have picked it because I didn't really enjoy the first trailer or two. So yeah, Onward. Hopefully it delivers on Pixar's kind of emotional elements, which they normally nail quite well, and that there's a good bit of humor in it as well, and that the world that they've created of kind of fantasy, more modern fantasy world isn't just as kind of obvious as it looks. Okay, our next award, the As Seen on TV Award. We're getting a few films this year that come from TV series, or inspired, or sequels, or prequels, or remakes, or reboots from TV series. We have 4 nominees. First up is Bob's Burgers, the movie. I really like Bob's Burgers. I'm not up to date in it. I don't entirely know what sort of story you would do to make it a movie. It's weird because I remember when the Simpsons movie came out, it was like, how'd you make it make it worthy of a movie? And then you saw the animation, and the animation did look more developed and stuff, and it looked kind of more polished. Bob's Burgers, some of the charm is kind of how, and I know the animation isn't crappy, but the kind of simplistic style of it is part of the charm. And also we're at the age now where with the high quality of animation and TVs and that kind of thing, all animation looks great most of the time for those sitcoms. So I don't know what you do as far as that goes. this movie we've been hearing about a long time. There, some people thought it was cancelled at one point. We'll have to see. It's out this summer. I don't think we've seen anything about it. Hopefully, it's good. Again, I like the series, so I'm hoping that it will deliver on that. We have The Many Saints of Newark. This is the prequel movie to The Sopranos. Look, I love The Sopranos. It is far enough removed from it where if this movie isn't good, that it won't be a big deal. I'm really excited for it. Okay, let me say that from the get-go. I love Sopranos. I'm currently watching Sopranos again. And I think it's going to be good, I think. David Chase is obviously very heavily involved. I think he's directing it and written it, of course. But it's like, is this necessary? Is the kind of resounding question that's banging around my mind. And, last year we had the Breaking Bad movie, which was, again, a sort of a sequel following Jesse. And as much as I thought that was a decent movie, it did just leave me going, oh, we didn't really need it, did we? And this being a prequel makes me question that even more. But hopefully it can be at least just maybe it's removed enough where it can just be its own thing and be enjoyable. So hopefully it will deliver, because it would be a shame to have a tarnish on what was one of the greatest series of all time, Sopranos. Fantasy Island. This is just a hard left turn here. It's Fantasy Island. Most people don't even remember it. It had, was it Ricardo Montalban and what was that guy's name? Jorge Villachez? I don't know. The guy who's a little guy called Tattoo that went, "Boss the plane." Like I think my understanding of Fantasy Island was you go to this island and your fantasies come true. So if you wanted to be a cowboy for a day, hey, you're a cowboy for a day. But this is made by Blumhouse, and they're doing a completely different version. And as you would expect from Blumhouse, it's a horror. And it looks kind of weird and messed up, and it kind of fits the premise. Like, if you went to this island and this guy was like, I can make every fantasy come true, it would get pretty dark, let's be honest. I think we've had a few trailers for this, and I didn't actually hate them. So we'll see. I'm kind of somewhat excited for this. I'm not overly excited for it. Again, I have no connection to the TV series Fantasy Island. I've never seen an episode, never want to or intend to. Could be an enjoyable film on its own, though. I don't think it'll be very faithful to what we saw in the original series. But there you go. And the last one, Impractical Jokers, the movie. Yeah, that happens all the times with TV shows where they just go, the movie. I'm a big fan of Impractical Jokers. We talked about this maybe even on the last episode or possibly the episode before that. And it's kind of weird. Like with say for example Jackass, because they're going to get compared to Jackass, but Jackass had like stunts, and of course you can go bigger with the stunts with a movie budget. Their stuff a lot of time is kind of hidden camera stuff and telling their friends do stuff. It's hard to really say this is bigger. Obviously they're going to be moving around a bit. I'm guessing going to be like a bit more nationwide in an American context. But it's hard to kind of... again, we have to wait until we see the movie, I suppose, to say whether this was justified to make a movie of it, or is it just an elongated episode? And if it's an elongated episode, I don't know, I kind of prefer the show when it's kind of shorter. So I don't know. We will see. The other thing is, it's probably seems like something like Jackass Bad Grandpa, whereas you have the stunts, the hidden camera stuff, and it's wrapped around with a plot. We've seen the plot. I'm not entirely sure if the plot can be funny. From what I've seen from the plot, I'm like they're competing to get tickets to a Paul Abdul concert. Yeah, and then the punishment, it's like, is the punishment really going to, be as grand as, because it's a movie, is it going to be that big? I don't know. And it's hard to tell how this is going to play out. I hope it's good because I like Impractical Jokers. It's being released like in a couple of weeks in America. I have no idea what the release plan is internationally. I haven't really seen it promoted that much. We had one trailer. Yeah, look, hopefully it's good. I'm going to give the award for As Seen on TV award to the movie I'm most looking forward to. And to be honest, it's weird. I think I just talked myself out of one. I was going to give this to Impractical Jokers, but I'm still not entirely sure whether I think it's going to be great or not. Bob's Burgers, again, I'm looking forward to it. But I'm not up to date in Bob's Burgers, so... You know what? I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to say The Many Saints of Newark. It's good to be back in the world of Sopranos, as much as I'm slightly hesitant. Having a prequel kind of removes some of my doubts, and having David Chase involved is pretty good. So I think there is a chance that could be, a good movie, hopefully a standalone, if nothing else. Okay, we're going to take a very quick break. I'm going to promote some stuff, and then we'll come back to the rest of the awards on our 2020 preview.
At their first show, they stated, "Fuck's sake, not another wrestling company." Then in Limerick, they asked, "Is it politically correct to shout suck it?" Now, on February 8th, bring your booze to the Circus Factory as Phoenix Wrestling loudly and proudly presents That Langer's so Langers, he can't even find his own Langer.
What the hell, Paz Tom? You didn't even tell him what was on the card. Jesus Christ. Okay, so first of all, if you're hearing this, you have less than a week to get your tickets for That Langer So Langers, he can't even find his own Langer in the Circus Factory on February 8th. Just to name a few of the matches on the card. Butch Armstrong taking on William Eaver. Scotty Davis taking on Alexander Dean. Be Cool, Matt Skyler, Danny Cross and Liam Royale in a fatal four-way. Raven Creed fighting Owen Richards. Sami Zayn taking on Debbie Keitel. And that's just a few of the matches. Okay, play the rest of that stupid ad.
Get your tickets as the tournament for Phoenix Champion begins at eventbrite.ie.
Okay, our next award is for The Chosen One to Break the Curse. Sorry. So this is an award for, of course, referring to the video game Curse. We have... when I put this together, we had 4 films. Now we have 3 films nominated. This is barely a category. 3, and one of them is not even a video game, technically. So then I kind of have 2. Okay, so this is a shambles already, isn't it? Films that I think will break the video game curse this year. Some people have said it's broken, possibly. I don't know. Detective Pikachu was fine. But anyway, Monster Hunter. This is coming from Paul W.S. Anderson. I always get him mixed up with the good director. He did all the Resident Evil movies. Mila Jovovich is in it. I think it's also got a pretty small budget. I don't really care for Monster Hunter. The games, they're fine. Some people love them. I don't think this is going to be a faithful adaptation. I don't think it's going to be a good adaptation. So moving on from that. Sonic the Hedgehog. Yeah, we've heard a lot about this because of the way he looks. It's coming out very soon, like 2 weeks. And we'll know for sure. It looks kind of fine. Like, it feels like we had such a stink about how he looks that we were kind of forgot about the quality of the movie. And at best, we might have a decent looking Sonic in an average enough Sonic movie. Free Guy, Ryan Reynolds. This is kind of not based on a video game, but it kind of seems very inspired by GTA and video game in general. You know, it's kind of like Wreck-It Ralph, where he's just a non-playable character in a game, and all of a sudden he decides, oh, hey, I'm going to be a hero in this game. We had a trailer for it not that long ago, and I liked it at the start, and then it kind of descended into like a over-the-top pixelsy kind of movie, not necessarily that funny. It's also got Taika Waititi in it, and I think he plays the bad guy, actually. It looks fine. I'm not entirely sure yet if it's going to be good. I kind of want to see more footage before I make my mind up for sure. This one just got ruled ineligible for this category a couple of days ago, and that is Uncharted. And it's funny, because I put Uncharted in there and was like, there's no way the Uncharted movie's going out this year. They've done nothing on it. They just lost the director. I think Ruben Fleischer is directing it now. But yeah, it's been delayed till 2021. I think they're meant to start filming this year, but yeah, ineligible. So we have 3 films nominated, really. Monster Hunter, Sonic the Hedgehog, and Free Guy. None of which I'm really excited for. I guess I give it to Free Guy by default. I think it's the one with the most potential. Haven't seen anything from Monster Hunter, but don't particularly care. Sonic the Hedgehog will at best be fine, I'm sure. Free Guy could possibly turn it around for me. I don't know. We'll see. Then we have the Everything Old is New Again award for reboots, remakes, and things we've seen before. Well, I tell you one thing we haven't seen before, and that's The Invisible Man coming out this year. Lee Winnell is directing this. He gave us Upgrade a couple of years ago, which was fantastic. This is also, I believe, produced by Blumhouse. it's sort of, remember that Dark Universe thing that Universal embarrassingly tried to make happen more than once? And then after The Mummy, they were like, yeah, this is it. We had Johnny Depp and Javier Bardem. And this is our universe, baby. And then The Mummy came out with shit. And they were like, just don't worry about it. So they're doing what they should have done from the start, which is low budget properties of their Universal Horror Monsters. This is presumably the first of possibly many. We'll have to see how this one does. I really enjoyed the trailer for this, as I really enjoyed Lee Whannell's last movie. It's got Elizabeth Moss, who I'm a big fan of. The only complaint I had about the trailer was that it gave away too much, but hopefully that won't be the case when we see the final product. I'm excited for this, and it's not that far. So at the moment, yeah, Invisible Man looks pretty solid. And again, I've already made the obvious joke about looking and seeing him. So yeah, Mulan. Again, we're kind of at the point where we're scraping the bottom of the barrel of Disney movies people care about. As far as these live action adaptations go. We had the horrifying news this week that Disney intend to shoot Bambi. Not again. No, that was a poor choice of words. They said they're making a new Bambi live action. Of course, if they shot Bambi, there'd be more tears than when they shot Bambi's mom. I don't think people care about Bambi, really. And what are you doing? Why bother doing a live action adaptation of these? You're just doing CGI animals. It's like, come on, they're also doing Pinocchio. Okay, who cares? Like, no one cares. But the Mulan one, it seems like they're kind of steering away from the source material a little bit. Doesn't have the music of the original. Looks like a big kind of action epic. I can't say I was a huge Mulan fan really, but this looks like it could be very, very solid. Hopefully it is. We have Candyman. This is a sort of reboot. I believe the original actor, Todd something, is Todd something. Is it more something that I can only remember his first name? Or would it have been worse if I just said the original actor? I feel kind of bad now just knowing his first name. Todd is back for Candyman. Produced by Jordan Peele. I've never seen Candyman. Some people have a massive affinity for it. This could possibly be good with the addition of Jordan Peele. We'll have to see. But again, since I haven't seen the original, it's hard for me to judge. Ghostbusters Afterlife. This is directed by Jason Reitman. We only got our trailer for it last month, I believe, or maybe it was even December, maybe end of December. It's hard. Like if there hadn't been the Ghostbusters movie in 2016, I think people would be a lot more excited for this. It does look like it's going back to basics, but it also feels like it's very different from the past Ghostbusters films. I'm not entirely sold yet on Ghostbusters, but their kids. The original cast are going to have some involvement in it, aside from Rick Moranis, of course. So yeah, again, hard to get excited for a Ghostbusters property, especially after the 2016 one. I'm not entirely sure this is going to be good. It does feel very Stranger Things. In fact, they've even got Finn Wolfhard in it. We'll have to wait and see. I am a massive Ghostbusters fan. Hopefully it's good, but it's really hard to tell. As for that trailer that came out, I think it was okay. There was some hints that it might be kind of more of a reboot than we expected. Possibly some hints at Zool. It was good seeing the Ecto one, and hearing that siren really made me kind of go, okay, I want to see this, but hard to tell if it's going to be good or not or yet. Good or not yet. I mixed that up. Jungle Cruise. Now, you might say, what the hell is Jungle Cruise? It's based on a theme park ride. So we have seen it before if you've been to Jungle Cruise, I guess. So this is, remember when Disney were making this thing? They did it obviously with Pirates of the Caribbean. They did, was a Country Bear Jamboree that no one knows or have seen, and that's probably for the best because it's crap. They have a Haunted Mansion with Eddie Murphy that was also based on a theme park ride. This has got The Rock and Emily Blunt. Yeah, it's kind of grand, I guess. It looks fine. It's like, oh God, we're off on an adventure, and oh, these jungles. It seems very much like Pirates of the Caribbean, but less interesting. The Rock just doesn't look. It's hard to take The Rock serious in a role where he's not just a big burly man, isn't it? Like seeing The Rock in regular clothes, you're like, what? What's going on here? I don't know. It's like when they got like Denise Richards to play a scientist, and you're like, come on now. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sold on this movie. I don't really have any interest in it. I probably won't even see it, to be honest, unless the reviews are really positive. Call of the Wild, I believe this was also in it. Last year got delayed. This is adapted from the Jack London novel. I don't know. I think it's like about a guy trying to get his dog back. Harrison Ford is the guy. So we have old grizzly Harrison Ford looking for his dog. I've seen some footage for this. It looks fine. Doesn't necessarily look like it's for me. For me, this comes down to 3 movies. We have 6 nominees. It comes down to 3 for me. I'm going to explain my process of elimination. So, Ghostbusters Afterlife, I'm excited for. I'm just thinking, I have my top 10 put together, and I'm also wondering if I have some of these movies down in my top 10 and they're now going to lose. Yeah, Ghostbusters, I think, is going to have to win it for me. Invisible Man, I'm really excited for, but that trailer, as much as it got me excited, gave away a bit much to the point where I'm like, I don't know if this is going to affect my enjoyment. Mulan, I'm excited for because it looks like it's actually trying to do something new as opposed to a lot of these Disney remakes. But I didn't have a massive love for the original Mulan or any nostalgia for it. So I'm going to give it to Ghostbusters Afterlife, even though I'm not entirely sure if it's going to be a great film. Okay, next one we have. This is a big category.
Another one.
The DJ Khaled Award for sequels. Thanks to DJ Khaled for recording that for us. Speaking of special guests, the Undertaker is still here. We kind of been at odds since the last episode. I'll be honest, I don't know what to do with him. I only got him here because I found I was going to be on a wrestling network. I wanted to be kind of wrestling related, and now I don't know what to do with him. So, yeah, I might try. I might ask his opinion on something, and then see if we can give him the old heave ho. So anyway, the DJ Khaled Award for sequels, another one, because you get it because we're going to get another one. Right. First one is actually ineligible because it's come out already, and that is Bad Boys for Life, the surprisingly good Bad Boys for Life, which I believe is probably its original title. Yeah, I don't really like the particular, the other Bad Boys movies. I thought they were kind of shit. I don't even like Bad Boys 2, ironically, like some people do. But this one was entertaining, It looked quite good. There was a little bit of kind of emotional stuff in it, which was good. It was funny. Action was decent. I enjoyed it more than I thought it would. But anyway, not eligible anymore because I made these a while ago, and now time has passed, as it tends to do. Right. Starting off with a movie that was meant to come out last year, but is now coming out this year. I picked the previous film to this last year and got my fingers burnt. That's Godzilla versus King Kong. This is a really weird universe. The last Godzilla movie, which did a lot of heavy lifting for this, sucked, in my opinion. Hopefully this is good. It's hard to tell if it will be. I mean, you would think it wouldn't be that hard to get, wrong or get right, I guess. Just fight, let these monsters fight. But again, I don't know. We'll just have to see how that pans out, because I thought that would be the case for the last Godzilla movie, and I thought it was terrible. So we'll see how that works out. A Quiet Place Part 2, we had a trailer for this recently with Cillian Murphy is now in the fold. And I really like the look of it, actually. Quiet Place was pretty decent. I really like the look of the sequel, though. We'll have to see. It's not long until it's out either. No Time to Die, the next James Bond movie, had a really good trailer. Again, talked a lot about some of the problems No Time to Die has had behind the scenes. But, I mean, if they can pull off a good sequel, they have a lot of talented people involved, and it looks good. So hopefully they will actually make a great Bond movie. And then we have Fast and Furious 9, which had a trailer yesterday as of this recording. Which, by the way, I guess spoilers for the trailer. I haven't seen it, but who cares? They put out like a 4-minute trailer, by the way, for a movie which may be the worst title. Fast and Furious titles tend to outdo themselves with how bad they are, but the title for Fast and Furious 9 is F9, The Fast Saga. The Fast Saga. That's what you call all of your movies. You don't need to call the 9th one Fast Saga. What are you going to call the 10th one? The Fast Collection. The Furious Saga. Oh, there we go. It's just a really bad title. So we had the trailer for this. And you got to, I guess, applaud the Fast and Furious movies for just abandoning all logic and physics, and because that's when they got entertaining. But this one, they didn't even try. So John Cena's in this one. John Cena is the bad guy. He seems like a kind of a mixture of all the bad guys in this. And he's also, I guess, spoiler, if you don't want to know what they say in the trailer, he's the younger brother of Dominic Toretto, Vin Diesel's character. which is like, where is this coming from now? You never mentioned the last 8 movies, but all of a sudden, I guess because The Rock disappeared, they're like, we need a big wrestler. He can be his brother. Who cares? It's not like we go to these movies at all for any bit of logic or decent writing or anything that resembles that. Also, I guess the spoilers are out there now. It was in the trailers as well. Han, who was killed in Tokyo Drift. Was he killed in Tokyo Drift? Yeah, he was killed in Tokyo Drift. It was revealed that Jason Statham's character killed him in Fast 6, I think. Oh my God, I can't believe I know all this information about the Fast and Furious movies. I'm so sorry. Yeah, he's back. I guess he survived. It doesn't really explain how he survived. And it also says justice is coming or something in the trailer. So, and what does that mean? They're going after Jason Statham? Jason Statham probably won't be in this movie. Charlize Theron is in the movie. She was the bad guy in Fast 8. I don't know. Is she going to be a good guy as well? They did that with some of their other bad guys, or he's just a good guy now for no real reason. Some parts in this trailer that make it interesting. There's a part where there's a rocket attached to a car and they're driving. A lot of people have been suggesting Fast and Furious is going to end up in space. That could be a hint towards that. Seems like it could be happening. There's a part in the trailer where they're on a rickety wooden bridge that's collapsing. But even though it's literally like pretty much vertical, the car is driving up it. There's a part where John Cena tackles Vin Diesel about 100 feet off a bridge, seemingly about to hit concrete, but doesn't matter. Someone gets hit by a car at one point in midair while the car is like flying through the air. It looked like they kind of shrugged it off. Not just because it's like, oh, the car is in the air, it doesn't have weight. That's how things work, right? The stupidest part of the trailer comes at the very end, which is the bridge is now collapsed, as we mentioned, and there's a rope attached to the bridge. Now, the rope is attached to the pillar, a wooden kind of stake, I guess. And Vin Diesel... Oh, I should also mention, by the way, of course, there's a moment where someone presses the nitrous button and everything is okay because they press the nitrous button. Because now all problems can be fast with how, can be solved with how fast your car is going. The car is going fast enough to solve this particular issue by pressing the nitrous button. When in doubt, give it that old nitrous button a press. It'll solve any problem in the Fast and Furious universe. But anyway, going back to the problem of the bridge. There's no bridge. The rope is attached to a wooden stake where the bridge once lay. And Vin Diesel thinks, here's what I'll do. He drives over the stake, which has some degree of rope on it. And because he drove over it, the rope is now attached to the car wheel, which he uses to drive off the edge and swings the car using the rope like Tarzan. Now, look, I'm here for enjoyment. I know these movies are stupid. They're like, this isn't even an issue of physics. The logic, that doesn't make any sense. How does that work? The bridge was collapsing. How? It's even though there was some issue of the bridge not being able to take away, the rope can apparently just take a full car. Not only that, I can't imagine the rope is tied very securely because he just drove over it. And even if you do swing to the other side, how are you going to get the car to land the right way up? Look, I'm no Dominic Toretto. I'm no street racer. I'm no Neil deGrasse Tyson with my science. How the fuck is that meant to work? But I'll say exactly what I said about Hobbs and Shaw, which I thought was fine. Nothing great. I can't wait to see this movie with a packed audience, with the biggest bucket of popcorn and biggest drink possible, and just turn off my brain and watch the movie and clap when stupid shit happens. These are possibly the biggest guilty pleasure movie that everyone seems to have bought into, to the point that we don't even consider them guilty pleasures, even though they are the worst, stupidest action movies that have ever happened. I mean, don't get me wrong, I can't call them lazy because they do some great stunt work and there's great effects and that kind of thing, but God, they're dumb. Top Gun Maverick is also out this year. How do you go from these from Fast and Furious to just like, okay, now we go back to a regular conversation. Top Gun Maverick, the long-awaited sequel to Top Gun. Tom Cruise is back in Boise, Maverick. I haven't seen the original Top Gun, much to the chagrin of many people. And look, this is just Tom Cruise the movie. This feels like they just gave Tom Cruise a blank check and he's like, I want to fly planes. want to drive my motorcycle. And they're like, yeah, work away, Tom Cruise. We'll film it and make a movie of it. Trailers look fine. I don't really care. But again, I don't have any attachment because I haven't seen the original Top Gun. Maybe if I have seen the original Top Gun, which I will before this movie comes out, maybe I'll have some enjoyment or entertainment out of it. But for now, it's not really for me. Bill and Ted Face the Music, the long-awaited Bill and Ted 3, it's actually happening, which is rare when you hear about a sequel in development for a long time. I haven't seen Bill and Ted in a long, long time, but I did enjoy them. Don't know much about this. I think we're going to get a trailer quite soon, if I remember correctly. Keanu Reeves is kind of going through a thing at the moment. A renaissance. I'm all up for more Bill and Ted because they're entertaining movies. I'm sure this one will be too, hopefully. Then we have a sequel that no one anticipated, nobody particularly asked for. You've probably already forgotten the last movie. So there was The Hitman's Wife. I think this came out in 2017 with Ryan Reynolds, Samuel L. Jackson, and Salma Hayek, I think. Well, now there's a sequel called The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard. Not much more else to say on that. Hitman's Wife was a perfect airplane movie. One of those movies where you just, kills a bit of time and you're like, yeah, that was fine. And then you just go about your life and forget about it. Then we have Snake Eyes. Nothing to do with Nicolas Cage or Brian De Palma, whoever made that movie. I've never seen that movie. I never intend to see that movie. They showed it on TV all the time for some reason. This is a spin-off sequel G.I. Joe movie. They're kind of rebooting it with an individual character. I know very little about G.I. Joe. I haven't seen the other G.I. Joe movies. I know Snake Eyes has a sword. Based on that, it looks brilliant. This guy's got a sword. Can't wait. Halloween Kills, a sequel to Halloween from 2018. And yeah, I'm a big fan of the Halloween franchise, even though a lot of them suck. But Halloween 2018 was great. And rumors through the grapevine, I heard that a lot of people have said this one is great too. I heard there was test screenings recently and that they went very, very well. Look, I really like the last Halloween movie. From what I've seen of this one, they had a very brief kind of teasery clips, look great. And what can I say? I'm a fan of the franchise. Another long-awaited sequel is coming out that we've been hearing about for a long time. I just realized that it's kind of rare that we have any of these sequels come up, but we're getting two in there with Bill and Ted being in development for a long, long time. But we also have Coming to America, as in number 2. That we're getting a sequel to the Eddie Murphy movie. I wish I only saw it for the first time recently. Yeah, it's fine. Eddie Murphy's on a comeback. I like Eddie Murphy a lot. Hopefully this is good. It'd be a shame if it wasn't. But there's not much else to say in that until we get a bit more information. So there's a lot of movies here in this category. And it's tough, man. It's really tough because there's movies like okay. I'm going to give it... Okay, there's the movie that I think is going to be the best. There's the movie that I'm definitely kind of excited for in a guilty pleasure way. And there's a movie that I hope is good. So the movie I think... This is the winner of the category. This is the one I think will be good. Is No Time to Die. James Bond movies. A lot of talented people involved. It looks good as much as there's problems behind the scenes. I've noticed a pattern seemingly with the Daniel Craig movies where it's like every second one, like Casino Royale was good, Quantum of Solace sucked, Skyfall was good, Spectre sucked. Hopefully this will be good based on that pattern. A movie I'm kind of giddily excited for, even though it's so stupid and awful, is Fast and Furious 9. Sorry, F9, The Fast Saga. Coming to a box set near you, The Fast Saga. Godzilla vs. King Kong is one I'm excited for, but I don't know. It could be bad. I've had my feelings out before when I picked a Godzilla movie, like I did last year. Halloween Kills is one I'm also very much looking forward to. But again, some of these are just a bit too early to tell. So there we go. I'm going to give it to No Time to Die. DJ Khaled Award for sequels, No Time to Die. Then we come to the award goes to award. Okay, we did this last year and it was fairly accurate actually. Except for Cats, which we won't mention again. These are movies which I think could have a chance of maybe being in the conversation when it comes to award season. Now, a couple of things to be very aware of. Award season, as much as we can try to predict it this far out, we honestly don't know until we start getting film festivals. We had Sundance at the moment. I think Sundance is actually still ongoing. But, we have a lot of other festivals. Cannes, of course, is a notable one. Tribeca, Toronto. You know, and of course there's ones during the summer as well. We honestly don't necessarily know how award season is going to shape up until a few more of those festivals take place, because sometimes it's just a small film that will come out of nowhere and blow us all away. But at the moment, here's ones that I think have a good chance. So we have In the Heights. This is a musical based on a musical by Lin-Manuel Miranda. I believe he's directing this also. There's a few ones here that, you know, they're musicals. Musicals are often big hits, you know, Cats excluded. Hamilton is massive. I think, of course, that's kind of swept awards in the Tonys and other areas. So I think that this could be a good investment as possibly getting some love award season. We have Trial of the Chicago 7. This has a great cast full of Oscar favorites, and it's written and directed by Aaron Sorkin, who, of course, is no stranger to awards. So I think that has a good chance as well. King Richard. This is, I believe, being played by Will Smith, he's playing the father of Serena and Venus Williams, going for a kind of a tense family drama there. West Side Story, of course, adapted from the classic musical, directed by Steven Spielberg. So, again, Spielberg, no stranger to awards. It seems like most of the films he puts out now, even if they're dry and boring, and he doesn't seem to care about them, and neither does anyone else, they get a bit of awards attention. News of the World. This was one that was at one stage, I believe, set up at Fox. Now I think it's gone to Universal, directed by Paul Greengrass. From looking this up, I think it's like, I'll get the details for this one, but I believe it's like something to do with a few years after the Civil War in America. This guy's trying to deliver a note. It's called The News of the World. Again, you have Tom Hanks in it, so naturally you know that this is going for a bit of award attention. Tom Hanks is one of those people that just constantly, seemingly without even trying, will get nominations and awards. I can't even find the information on Wikipedia, so I'm not going to bother. But yeah, basically it's a guy who delivers a war to someone, I think, after the Civil War. You know, look, it's going for that kind of historical epic. It's with Tom Hanks. You can't go far wrong there. The Last Duel, the reunion of Ben Affleck and Matt Damon as a writing duo. It's being directed by Ridley Scott. I've heard a few people raise kind of some red flags about this, whether or not it's going to be any good. There's also another writer joining them, a female writer whose name escapes me. But yeah, we'll see. You know, Affleck and Damon, of course, did fantastically well with Good Will Hunting a long time ago, so maybe this will be their return to form. Ridley Scott is also in need of a return to form, really. Then we have Worth. This one played at Sundance. It's getting really positive reviews. As far as if it's, you know, going to play well at awards season, it's a story about 9/11 and people trying to get, you know, basically support for victims. Yeah, could very much play very well to, you know, the Oscar crowd. There's a lot of Oscar bait movies here, which we may see. Then I hadn't even thought of what I was going to give this to, because none of those films on a personal level really interest me. Fuck it, I'll just give it to Worth. That'll probably get some award attention. Fuck it, yeah. I won't give it to a film I'm interested in. I'll give it to a film that I think is most likely to win some awards, which I think will be Worth. Then we have movies banned on airplanes because they may be bombs. See what I did there? It's a pun. Oh, yeah. Right. God, I really wish I'd done this a couple of weeks earlier, because I was going to say Doolittle. Doolittle is going to bomb. And yeah, it is, really. And that's not a surprise to anyone. So here are a few ones I think could bomb. Again, sometimes these are way off the mark, but it's just kind of interesting to speculate as reasons they might fail. So we have My Spy. This has Dave Bautista in it. It's put up by STX Films, who we discussed in the last episode, in that they're just a disaster studio who've had every film bomb. It's been delayed a lot. Apparently it came out somewhere, and it's fine. It's got a low budget, which might save from bombing, but I don't think it's going to do any bit decent. The King's Man. This is the Kingsman prequel, which has been delayed twice now, I think. It's meant to come out later in the year. It was meant to come out in February. A couple of weeks, actually. But it got delayed. It was meant to come out at the end of 2019. It got delayed again. You know, it's never a good sign. First of all, Fox's slate under Disney hasn't done exceedingly well. The fact that it's been delayed twice doesn't echo confidence. And I also just wonder if franchise interest has maybe waned since Kingsman 2. It's also been a couple of years since that came out. So I don't know how to call. June. Am I saying that right? June? June. Yeah, June, like a sand dune, I guess. Of course, based on the Frank Herbert novel. Directed by Denis Villeneuve, who's a fantastic director. but isn't often one to make massively successful films. The budget for this is going to be quite high. The previous adaptation of Dune, I believe, also failed. So yeah, it's hard to tell with some of these R-rated, big-budget sci-fi movies. Sometimes they just don't do very well. It has a great cast, which goes in its favour, but could potentially fail as well. Artemis Fowl, Disney's live-action adaptation. I forgot this, it even had a trailer, which isn't great. Yeah, it got delayed, which isn't a good sign. I don't know if Disney necessarily know what to do with it. I don't know if the interest is still there for Artemis Fowl or an Artemis Fowl movie. A few other honourable mentions. Again, some of these have been nominated in other categories, so they're not nominated here, but just ones that I think could potentially bomb. Godzilla vs. Kong. Yeah, like the last Godzilla underperformed drastically. If the reviews for this one aren't better, then I could also see it going that way. Morbius, hard to call exactly how this Spider-Man spin-off movie from Sony is going to develop. I'm not sure is it R-rated or not. Venom did well, but Venom is a character people know and like. Morbius, not entirely sure, and I don't know if Jared Leto can carry a lead role like that. We have Sonic, again. Seems to have had some problems and delays and that kind of thing. I don't know whether people are going to turn out for Sonic. Depends on reviews. I don't think the reviews are going to be that positive. So, it comes down to movies that I think are... I forgot I had to pick which movie I think is going to bomb the most, which... Okay. I'll tell you... Okay, the movie I think is going to bomb is My Spy. I think that will bomb, but I don't think that's a very fun or interesting choice. I'm going to just swing for the fences here. I think Dune is going to bomb. But, I mean, it probably won't. I'm going to predict Dune, even though I don't think it will bomb. But it's more fun to predict a movie that's actually big and people know of. Let's go on to a category called The OGs. This is a category for original films. Perish the thought. The King of Staten Island, coming from Judd Apatow and Pete Davidson. Heard reviews for this, I believe, and they were quite positive, I think. Maybe I'm wrong there. But yeah, could be a good movie. I think Apatow is in need of a hit, and Pete Davidson is kind of, getting a lot of love recently. I'm not sure, is he particularly funny or talented? I haven't seen much of him, but, there you go. Tenet, this is the Christopher Nolan film. We got one trailer, and it was just like, what the hell is going on? Which is basically, it's a Chris Nolan film, right? One of the kind of last directors probably going who can get an original idea of that scale and budget and, turn not to be excited for another Christopher Nolan film because this guy delivers. And this seems like something a bit more cerebral, a bit weird and interesting. So hopefully Tenet is going to knock it out of the park. We have Last Night in Soho, which is coming from Edgar Wright, which is heavily inspired by Don't Look Now and kind of British horror films of the time. Look, Edgar Wright, has never said a foot wrong in my book as far as a director. So hopefully he'll continue that streak and he's doing something different. Don't entirely know yet. I'm assuming it seems to be a straight up horror film, but not like, his other stuff has been comedy, horror, comedy, action, that kind of stuff. Doesn't seem that that's the case here. So, but we'll have to see. I'd be okay with him just doing a straight up horror. So we'll see. We have Bios, which has Tom Hanks in it. I have the plot synopsis here because I hadn't heard of it until I went through the year in film, as it were. On a post-apocalyptic Earth, a robot built to protect the life of his dying creator's beloved dog learns about life, love, friendship, and what it means to be human. Not entirely sure about this film because it seems like we get that film like every couple of years. We had like Chappie. Remember that movie? It just seems like every now and then we get like, what if a robot learned to love? It's like, I don't know. We'll see how that works out. Interesting. The fact it got Tom Hanks involved makes me kind of go, maybe. And we have the Tomorrow War, which again, I don't know much about. I looked into it. I'm still not really the wiser. But yeah, an original idea. I hate to go against Edgar Wright, but I have to say the film I'm most excited for out of the OGs is Tenet. And maybe it's just because we've seen some footage of that, but it looks very ambitious, very different and interesting. So Tenet gets the award for the best OGs. All right. Not many categories left. Let's go to Martin Scorsese's favorite category, which is the category I call Martin Scorsese's least favorite films of 2020, aka Marvel, DC, and whatever the hell Sony are doing. Superhero films, in other words, or comic book films, if you want to be specific with some of them. Okay, starting off with Sony's films. Venom 2, which I did not like Venom. But to be honest, I can't even remember it anymore, so I don't really care. Hopefully they learned their lessons. We will see. What even was Venom? It was just like a load of globs fighting each other at the end. Carnage is in it, played by Woody Harrelson. Andy Serkis is directing it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how this is going to go. I didn't care about the last Venom. Don't particularly care about this movie, so that's that. Morbius. Excuse me. Morbius had a trailer recently. Jared Leto as the living vampire. Yeah, it looks like kind of every origin movie ever. It also looks like it has a lot of the same kind of problems that Venom had. And the only thing of noting is that Sony have kind of found a loophole with the whole involvement with the MCU. Obviously it looks like they're going to be exiting out of the Marvel deal soon, but since characters are in the MCU, like for example in the trailer we had Michael Keaton as the Vulture, they can just say like, hey, it's in the MCU because we took a character that was in an MCU movie and put him in our movie, which they're well in the right to do, but it also is kind of sneaky. So yeah, it's in the MCU for better or worse. I just don't think it'll ever be acknowledged by Marvel. I don't know. Possibly going to get a J. Jonah Jameson cameo. That's another rumor. Would be shocked if they have obviously acknowledged Spider-Man in this one as well on the graffiti. But actually, really weirdly, they put like a sticker up that's of Sam. People are like, "Oh, is this like what? Is Spider-Man in this movie?" Oh, and Sony were like, "Let's make this clear." So they put a sticker of Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, but it's Sam Raimi's Spider-Man suit from the PS4 video game Spider-Man. So yeah, way to clarify what's going on there. But it also hints at Spider-Man being accused of the crimes that Mysterio, committed, which we saw in the last Spider-Man Far From Home. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't like Venom. I don't think Morbius can carry a movie on his own. I don't like Jared Leto. There's nothing in this movie for me, really. But it looks like they might be setting up the Sinister Six based on that. And I'm guessing Sony will probably set up Sinister Six and then wait till they're kind of free of the MCU and maybe do their own thing. We shall see. We have 2 Marvel movies coming out here from the MCU. First, we have The Eternals. We haven't seen anything about this. It's an interesting idea. It looks like a big kind of space epic that spans like massive chunks of time. Again, it's hard to. It's a new property from Marvel. Eternals is characters that I'm not mostly aware of. I find it interesting, but we haven't seen anything from it, so it's hard to judge entirely. We have Black Widow, which we have seen footage of. I'm quite excited for her, actually. It looks quite good. But, it's hard to tell entirely whether it's going to stick the landing. Of course, it has the burden possibly of being a prequel as well. So who knows where it goes. But there's a lot of great stuff in this movie. The action looks good. I like Florence Pugh. I like David Harbour. I like Rachel Weisz. Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow is always fantastic. She's got a white suit, which is gorgeous. The Taskmaster is a great villain. So hopefully we're going to see some stuff that really works in this movie, and it will be a great movie. On the DC side of things, we have 2 films coming out as well this year. One is actually out next week, which is Birds of Prey and let's see if I get this right. Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn. There we go. R-rated. Birds of Prey, Harley Quinn. Joker isn't really in it. Setting up the Birds of Prey, which is Mary Elizabeth Winstead. Journey Smollett Bell, I think is her name. I said with a question mark. Is it Rosie Perez? I don't know. Okay, I'm just going to stop now. Yeah, the Birds of Prey are being set up as well. Looks like very much a Harley Quinn movie. Of course, we have Black Mask as well with Ewan McGregor. I say early reviews, but again, we can't always trust early reviews. Have been positive for this movie. I must say I actually am quite looking forward to this, more than I thought I would. But I really like the last few trailers for this, much more so than a lot of people on the internet. I saw people on the internet's the fucking worst, man. Like as soon as a female movie came out, people started tearing into it. But like Twitter, there was a guy on Twitter, and it was apparently a popular opinion judging off likes and retweets and stuff. Some guy was like, "This movie is going to bomb because." Just like what they did with Charlie's Angels, they stripped away the sexuality of the characters, and now the core audience is going to want to see it. It's like, what? So I think his logic was basically in Suicide Squad, Harley Quinn was going around in short shorts. Now she doesn't have short shorts, so it's not going to succeed as a result. What? There's plenty of comic book movies that have succeeded that don't have massive chunks of sex appeal. And if you think the movie's just going to fail because we can't see Margot Robbie's ass, then there's something wrong with you. And to be honest, if that's the only reason you're seeing movies, maybe just stay at home and be a creep, you fucking weirdo. Anyway, I'm quite looking forward to that movie, I must say. Other movie we've seen from DC this year is Wonder Woman 1984. I said other movie we've seen. I don't know why I said that. My brain is not working today. But, you know, I gotta do this podcast. If you got in this far, you might as well keep going, right? Wonder Woman 1984. We've had a trailer for this. A lot of questionable leaks about the quality of this movie. The trailer, I think, is fine. I'm not entirely sold on it. The 80s setting interests me. I didn't like the first Wonder Woman as much as everyone else, but I do think it was quite good overall. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in this movie that I'm not entirely sure about. The trailer didn't exactly sell me, but it could be decent. The rest of the movies we have are the weird ones, as if the other ones aren't weird enough. So we have Bloodshot, which is coming from Vin Diesel. The trailers for it look okay. I like some of the effects, but it's really hard to tell whether this is going to be like a good movie or a good Vin Diesel movie. You know what I mean? Where it's like, oh, this is a cool comic book movie, or it's just like Vin Diesel's stupid over-top action. Hard to tell, but we'll see. Based on, is it a Vertigo comic, I think? No. Imprint? I can't remember. It doesn't matter. But yeah, like, so this is kind of a darker superhero involving nanotechnology. It's an action movie. Could be interesting. The trailers look okay. Not going to say it's going to be good or bad because I really think that one's a bit of a toss-up. And then we have one of the few films that was nominated last year, and hell, who knows if it's going to be nominated next year, and that is New Mutants, which, I mean, we don't have to get into the train wreck of the history of New Mutants. It's coming out, apparently, in April. I just realised I'm pretty sure we were promised a trailer for this, and I can't remember if we got one or not. Oh, we did get a trailer. Yeah, it looked okay. Nothing special. Director said it's his original vision. I mean, who really cares? You know, it's been so long. Any hype that was there for this movie is now kind of gone. So, yeah, I just hope to see this movie released so we can just stop talking about it, stop joking about it, and get on with our lives. Right, I'm going to give this to... See, this is tough because really, for me, it comes down to either Black Widow or Birds of Prey. And it's kind of unfair because a lot of the movies we haven't seen footage of necessarily. And the other thing is, I feel kind of unfair picking Birds of Prey because it is just out, you know, next week. So I might be more excited to it because I'm just going to see it soon. But yeah, look, I'm going to give it to Birds of Prey, and Black Widow I would give a runner-up to because I think Birds of Prey just looks kind of fun. And it looks kind of different, which I appreciate. So let's go from the films that everyone is going to be talking about with superhero and comic book movies and go to a category that I like to call hipster films that you can tell your mates about so it looks like you love good cinema. The complete opposite of the superhero films. Okay, so the first one we have is First Cow, which is a film about a loner and a cook who have travelled west and join a group of fur trappers in Oregon territory, though he only finds connection with a Chinese immigrant. The men collaborate in a business, although its longevity is reliant upon participation of a wealthy landowner's prize milk cow. So yeah, it's basically about them dealing with this one cow. Seems like one of those quirky kind of dramas that are a little bit indie, but not so indie that they're kind of weird. The reviews, I think, I've already been out for this. It already premiered last year, and they were pretty positive. Yeah, just feels like one of those quirky kind of feel-goody kind of dramas that your annoying mate with a long beard and tiny glasses is going to tell you about. We have Promising Young Woman, which I believe, premiered at Sundance maybe a couple of days ago, and it's gotten really good reviews. I think, in fact, if it wasn't as dark as it sounds, we'd probably have a chance at some Oscars next year. It's sort of a drama thriller tying into the kind of Me Too movement. So Carey Mulligan is our star. A young woman traumatized by a tragic event in her past seeks out vengeance against men who cross her path. It's kind of, I've heard, is a bit of a sort of a rape revenge fantasy film. So yeah, reviews have been quite good. Interesting one, and I think that a lot of people are going to be talking about that when it comes out. Antlers, a small-town Oregon teacher, Julia Meadows, and her sheriff brother Paul become entwined with a young student in her school who is harboring a dangerous secret with frightening consequences. I've seen some footage of this, I believe. I've seen a poster for it. They look really freaking spooky and really creepy. So it could be one of those, ground-swollen horror films, as we get every now and then, where a lot of people are just talking it up, and for word of mouth, it becomes quite a success. It could be against this one, though, which is Saint Maud. Hospice nurse Maud has recently converted to Roman Catholicism and is concerned that she may be possessed when she becomes infatuated with Amanda, a former dancer in her care. Reviews, I think, have come out for this one as well. Very positive. Sounds like a very dark film. I believe actually maybe 2 or 3 of these films are A24 films, because they're kind of the king of hipster indie films at now. Yeah, those all sound good. If I had to give this to one of them, I like horror films. But again, Antlers and Saint Maud are ones I'm definitely going to see, but I'm not entirely sure what to make of them yet. First Cow, I don't care about that one that much, to be honest. Promising Young Woman, though, that sounds interesting. So that one is getting my approval. I like Carey Mulligan. I like the plot. And I think if we're kind of tying it into to make it a bit more relevant to modern times, I think that could be a good choice. So we'll see. Anyway, those are all our film awards. We'll come to our top 10 in a minute. Last year it was my first episode I did this. So I like to think it got a bit better, although I'm not too sure after this episode, to be honest. But we are going to listen to some categories for not just films. I've got one category for TV and one category for video games, just to highlight a few things that are going on in that world. So in our game category, we have games we're so excited for they'll probably be delayed to 2021. But the horrible irony of this is that when I was putting this together, 2 games got delayed, but thankfully they're still coming out this year. First game that got delayed was Avengers, just the Crystal Dynamics game, now coming out in September, I believe. Yeah, it's hard to judge this one because it looks good. They said a lot of the right things. Not entirely sure of the gameplay, though. Looks a little bit kind of on rails, and we're all kind of hoping for another good superhero game after we got Spider-Man. But yeah, it's hard to tell. It's kind of the jury's still out in this one. Hopefully it's good. We shall see. Cyberpunk 2077 also got delayed, but it's still coming out this year. They're apparently having issues with the current generation of consoles. It sounds very much like this is a game that is going to be as geared as possible towards the next generation of consoles, but very ambitious game. We'll see how that develops. Hopefully it comes out this year, and hopefully it lives up to its potential, because it has a lot of potential. We have The Last of Us 2. This also got delayed to this year. I love The Last of Us 1. Really, I hope that they, like the gameplay of Last of Us is really good, but it's nothing breakingly original. But it was the story and the characters really worked in that, and I'm hoping that they found justification for more of that story. It does look very dark from what we've seen of it. Hopefully, Naughty Dog can bring this out and deliver on what was, in my opinion, one of the best games of the last generation. We have Doom Eternal. I love the first Doom. This game is okay. I think every game in this category has been delayed at least once. Okay, Doom Eternal I think is out in March, so I'm assuming it won't be delayed again. Look, they captured lightning in a bottle with the last Doom game. It just managed to get the perfect blend of the old style of Doom games and new kind of dynamics and gameplay. This one looks like they've turned the craziness up considerably. Hard not to be excited when you think about that. Hopefully, this is a fantastic game. We have Ghost of Tsushima, which we've been hearing about for a while now. It's a game that looks like it has a lot of promise. I haven't seen much of it lately. Hopefully, it can come out this year and deliver on the hype that it got when it was first announced. All right. First of all, I will say this. The game categories are tough. The reason I didn't put game categories in before, and the reason TV categories don't always, get into some of these, is that you can't play every game. I don't have every console. I don't have a Switch. Some games appeal to different people as far as indie games, and some people play big studio games. Some people are into big shooters. Other people are not. So, this is even more so than the films. This is probably down to personal preference. That being said, I'm going to give this to Last of Us 2. I've just been waiting on Last of Us sequel for a long time. I love the first one. I played the first one through a couple of times now. So I'm hoping the second one could be fantastic as well. But, honestly, it looks like it's going to be a great year for games. Based on those 5 alone, if those deliver, we're going to have a great year. Then our TV award. We have the award that should have been called the As Seen on TV Award, but I didn't think it through. I guess we could call it the Will Be Seen on TV Award, because this award is for new shows. Probably should shorten that title, but there you go. Lock and Key, I think this is actually up next week on Netflix. The reviews for it have been decent, not groundbreaking. They've been trying to make a Lock and Key series seemingly forever. It's bounced all over the place. And yeah, we'll see if this is any good. I imagine the fact that it's on Netflix anyway means it will have at least a pretty big success. We have Snowpiercer on TNT. This has been delayed a few times as well. I think there's already a second season of it coming. I'm still not entirely sure if we need a Snowpiercer TV series, because, like, what's the point? Like, didn't we say all we need to say with the first movie? But there you go. Space Force on Netflix. This is from, I believe, Greg Daniels and Steve Carell, who are best known for their work on the US Office. Based on that, it just has a fantastic potential. Hopefully, it delivers. It's coming to Netflix. You know, what else can you say? Those guys created magic. It's one of the big. The Office was one of the biggest shows on Netflix. I think it's gone now. So yeah, they're hoping that this is also going to be the next big Netflix series. We have Y, or based on the comic Y the Last Man, coming to FX. Hopefully, it seems like there's been some issues behind the scenes on that. That's one of my favorite comic book series. It's got some fantastic people involved with it. Barry Keoghan is playing the lead. Hopefully, it's going to be a fantastic series that will really, really run for a while, because I love that comic book series. I think it has a lot of potential as a TV series. Then we have two of the Marvel shows coming this year. Falcon and Winter Soldier, which is apparently coming this summer, possibly August. We've seen some information on this. There's also some rumors. I'm not going to say the rumors just in case they are true and spoilery. But we do have US Agent, played by Wyatt Russell. Is that his name? Yeah, Wyatt Russell. Kurt Russell's son. And yeah, like, assuming this, like, looking at something like The Mandalorian, which had a fantastically big budget and delivered for the most part. I think I'm very excited to see how these TV shows and these comic book ones, especially on Disney Plus, with a kind of an unfettered budget and enough time to tell a story that will tie into the movies, works. And Falcon and Winter Soldier, I think, is going to be a great start for that. We have WandaVision, apparently coming out the end of this year, which was a surprise. Originally, it didn't seem like that was going to be possible. This one just looks like it's going to mess with our heads, man. It seems like Vision is back. Whether or not that's true, we seemingly getting like a lot of different versions of sitcoms. Particularly, kind of seems to be some sort of 50s influence. So it very much reminds me of Tom King's run on the Vision for Marvel, which was a fantastic series where they were living in the suburbs. Yeah, and maybe there's a bit of House of M thrown in there. A lot of reality warping things. There's a lot of strange characters in the Marvel Universe seemingly going to be in this out of nowhere. Yeah, really excited for this one. It looks like it's going to be weird, and it looks like it's going to be unique and different, which is great. We have The Plot Against America, next HBO series, coming from David Simon. David Simon created The Wire. This is actually out quite soon, I believe. They just put out a trailer for it. It looks very good. John Turturro is in it. It's got a fantastic cast. I mean, David Simon, you know, what more can you say except he made The Wire? Like, I'm watching The Wire at the moment, and it holds up tremendously well. One of the greatest series of all time. And I think something like this could be both timely and a great addition to TV in 2020. And lastly, we have Noughts and Crosses. This is based on a book by Mallory Blackman. I read this book when I was younger, maybe a teenager, and had a big effect on me. And it did a lot of people. It's basically a fairly simple premise. Now, there's a whole series of books. I've only read the first one. I believe there's 4, possibly 5 books. But the basic premise is that basically the white people were oppressed by African Americans, or the other way around, I guess. No, white people were oppressed by black people. I think it was set in England, so I couldn't say African Americans. Yeah, it was interesting. It sounds like a very thin kind of basic concept when you hear like that, but there was a lot of elements to it that really, really worked. I think it's important that we have a show like this for where we are in society now, you know. I think that goes for The Plot Against America as well. But it's you know, we will see. Hopefully it's good. I believe this is also a BBC show. Yeah, so I'm looking at the premise here, sorry. So it's a BBC show. It's speculative fiction set in an alternative history where black or cross people rule over white, Noughts. So it's kind of got that thing going on. Noughts and Crosses was a very good book. We should see where it goes. It would be great if, and yeah, there is 5 books. I remember the ending of the first book. That was very shocking, which is kind of a shame. So it's set in an alternative 21st century Britain. At the time of the series, slavery has been abolished for some time, but segregation, similar to Jim Crow laws, continues to operate to keep the Crosses, dark-skinned people, in control of the Noughts, the lighter-skinned people. Okay? There's kind of an international organization like the UN playing a role in forcing change, directives and boycotts. So it's, again, you have the kind of things of, we just had Brexit happen. Something like the EU was also in play there. Could be interesting to see comparisons to that. Again, it's a series that could be quite timely. We'll see how it plays out. So, I am going to give this to the show I'm most excited for. I'm very excited for both Marvel shows. And I'm excited for Why the Last Man, but I'm not confident we will necessarily get to see it. Now, I want to say as well, this is a category just for new shows, not returning shows. Because there is some good returning shows this year as well. But yeah, I won't give it to Why the Last Man because I don't know yet if we will see it. And out of the Marvel shows, I'm definitely more excited for WandaVision. So WandaVision is the show I'm most excited for coming in 2020. Hopefully it's great. Hopefully all the shows I mentioned are great and we have a fantastic year of home entertainment. Right, here we go. I have my top 10 films for 2020, the ones I am most excited for. I've mentioned all of these films except one. That's right, there's a film on my list I did not mention yet. Okay. I'll try to get my justification for it. I hope I'm not disastrously long. Last year, I went through my top 10 lists and it was not good. Okay. Last year, I also made sure to pick the films that most people are aware of. But to be honest, looking at this list, I think most people are aware of these films as well. Number 10. This is Those Who Wish Me Dead, the Taylor Sheridan film we were talking about. I think Taylor Sheridan is one of the greatest people working in Hollywood today as far as what he's made. Sicario was fantastic. Hell or High Water. I'm blanking on. He did Wind River as well, which was really good. And he did a film before that. I can't remember. But yeah, he's made some really great films. So hopefully, now he's returning and directing it as well. This can also deliver on promise. Number 9, Godzilla vs. Kong. I put a Godzilla movie on my top 10 list the year before, and it really bit me in the ass. But I'm hoping they've learned their lesson. I'm hoping the delay is to make things better. We haven't seen anything of this, except for a few leaks. I think there's some toy leaks out there. I won't say what they are just in case they are true. Look, it's hard to mess this movie up, you would think. Hopefully, they nail the landing. And we will have a good, strong monster mash and also a strong footing for this franchise and these franchises to continue in the Monsterverse. Number 8. This is the movie I have not mentioned on my list. Just didn't really fit in anywhere. I could have put it in the OG category, but I actually came across this quite late because it only premiered at Sundance, and when I heard it, I thought, okay, that sounds pretty good. I don't even have a synopsis here, but the film is called Possessor, and it's a horror film. What everyone seems to be saying is this a horror film, not like any horror film you've ever seen. It's incredibly weird and messed up. If you think it sounds kind of Cronenbergian, if that's a word, it's not. This is directed by David Cronenberg's son. So if he's half as messed up as his daddy, we could have a really good, first of all, a very good talent on our hands, a new talent, but also just a really effed up film. So Possessor follows an agent who works for a secretive organization that uses brain implant technology to inhabit other people's bodies, ultimately driving them to commit assassinations for high-paying clients. Again, it's a messed up looking film. A lot of one of the pictures that I keep seeing attached to this film is like horribly red room. It looks like someone's missing an eye. It's really messed up looking. I felt like I wanted at least one horror film on my top 10. I think I can have another one technically up above it. But I'm interested in this. This is one of the more original films that I'm, going to put on my list. There's a few films that just miss out on my list as well, but we get to those. Number 7 is going to be Black Widow. I'm excited for this film. I'm not entirely like last year was such a massive year for Marvel. This year is a slightly lesser year. Eternals hasn't made my list at all. But again, it's early, so we haven't seen anything from it. Black Widow, what I've seen, I really like. There are some things in it that give me pause as far as is this a story worth telling and it's a prequel, etc. But I'm very excited to see some of these elements. I like that it's a prequel. I feel like I can tie some things in for future installments as well, and also just fill in a few details about the back half of the MCU. And this if this is Scarlett Johansson's last time playing Black Widow, I hope it's a good send off. I don't think it will be her last time playing Black Widow, incidentally, but we'll see. Number 6, Ghostbusters Afterlife. Again, this is another film I have issues and reservations about, but I think this is as close as we could ever get to a Ghostbusters 3 now. The original cast are involved slightly, to a certain degree. I mean, you're never going to get them all back full time. Jason Reitman, Ivan Reitman's son, is directing it, who seems to have a good handle on material. There's some interesting new ideas. I'm not entirely sold on it yet, but I enjoyed the trailer enough where I could definitely see myself enjoying this movie. And hopefully it's just another worthy Ghostbusters movie, because I don't think the last one was. Hell, I don't think there's been I don't know if there's been an entirely worthy Ghostbusters movie since the first one, as much as I enjoyed the second one. Number 5, the highest rated superhero film on my list, which I didn't necessarily see coming when I started the list, incidentally, but Birds of Prey. Now, again, it's coming out next week, so maybe that's I've seen been hit with the marketing material. Maybe it's being more effective on me than I expected, and maybe that's why it's up so high. But I'm looking forward to this movie, man. I think it looks good. I think hopefully it balances things. Like, hopefully it's not too much Harley Quinn, or it's not too grating. It's an R rating, which definitely interests me. Makes it a little bit different. And yeah, hopefully this movie is good. I'll know for sure next week. Number 4. Again, this is a film I've talked about that has had issues that I haven't entirely been sure about all the way through. But I enjoyed the trailer, and honestly, the people involved with it make me interested again. And quite surprised with how high I ended up putting this. But that's No Time to Die, the next James Bond movie. I would say I like James Bond, but I'm not like a massive Bond fan. In some ways, like I wouldn't be like, oh, they need to do this with Bond. They need to do this. But this one, I like what I see. Again, I liked what I saw in some parts of Spectre as well. And I saw the movie and it sucked, so who knows. But right now, I think this could be a very worthy Bond film, and hopefully a good kind of career end for Daniel Craig as Bond. Number 3, Dune. Denis Villeneuve is directing this. That alone makes me put this quite high. He's made some of the best films in recent memory. Consistently made fantastic movies. This has a brilliant cast. It's a good book. I don't think I actually finished it, but from what I read, it was a good book. A big budget sci-fi thing like this, I can't imagine it's not going to be good. But hopefully it'll succeed at the box office, because if this is a good movie, there's plenty more Dune stories to tell. Number 1 and 2 are 2 original films. Number 2, coming in from Edgar Wright, Last Night in Soho. Edgar Wright is one of my favorite filmmakers. As much as I'm not necessarily familiar with Don't Look Now and that style of horror films from England in the 70s and 80s, I'm very interested to see his style mesh with that. I think it's going to be interesting. I don't think he's set a foot wrong as a director yet. And I think it's unlikely he's going to do so with this one, because it seems like something he's very, very passionate about. Hopefully, his passion pays off with a great film, as generally speaking, every film he's done so far. And the last one, from Christopher Nolan, Tenet. This has a cast like Robert Pattinson is in it, and John David Washington, I believe his name is, Denzel Washington's son. Of just like, first of all, those are 2 fantastic actors who are really kind of climbing in Hollywood right now. I mean, Christopher Nolan does some of the great films of the last decade. As much as, to be honest, I haven't actually seen Dunkirk. I'm not always a massive fan of war films. But when, like, there's no real director I can think of, and there's a few exceptions, that could make a film like this based on an original idea with this budget And that trailer, I was watching it, and obviously I have no idea what's going on, but it has me invested. And maybe it is a case where all these mysteries and all this weirdness is making me think it's going to be better than it is. Maybe it's getting me more excited than it is. Maybe once I learn the answer to those mysteries, I won't be as interested. But for now, Tenet is the film I'm most looking forward to in 2020. Right. There we go. So that is my preview 2020. The films I'm looking forward to. Films I think will do well, do bad, etc. What do you think? Let me know what film you're looking forward to most in 2020. Do you disagree with what I said? Go ahead and tell me on Twitter at pop_cult_pod, Instagram popcultpod, Facebook popcult compound. You can email me if you want for some reason. popcultpod@gmail.com. That's it. Sorry for the episode being a little bit rushed. As I said, very, very busy right now. Podcast isn't going anywhere, but there might be some changes coming. We'll have to see. So for now, that's it. Hopefully a new episode in a couple of weeks. We'll see. I'll be hosting the Phoenix Wrestling Show February 8th. That Langer So Langers. He can't even find his own Langer. I need to work on remembering that title. For February 8th, get your tickets out of eventbrite.ie. Well, until then, remember, I cannot spell cult without you. Oh, wait a sec, cut the music. We finally have time to talk to the Undertaker. Undertaker, I really only want to ask you one question. What film are you looking forward to most in 2020?
Soul.
Oh, Soul, Pixar's film. Oh, but that was a bit of a surprise. I thought you might have gone with something a bit darker. Well, that's great to know. That's a bit of insight into the Undertaker there. Mark, it's been great having you on. I guess you can go.
When you come face to face with the Undertaker, the party is over.
Well, okay, look, relax. Is this because I keep calling you Mark?
Play the music. Play the intro music to the show.
The Pop Cult Pod with Tompott on the Phoenix Wrestling Network.